Greetings, traveler. I've been expecting you. Today, we're going to explore Daggerfall, what it is, and why you need it in your life. It's an evolving mod collection with over 100 mods that will be constantly updated as new features and mods become available. This collection has something for everyone. The veterans coming back to experience your next obsession all over again, as well as for newcomers who have maybe started with Skyrim and are working their way back through time. It's Daggerfall, but with improvements to graphics, gameplay mechanics, combat, weapons, and much more. And a big thanks to the modding community that made this project possible. Links will be provided in the description to download this collection, as well as a link to an install guide if you're interested. And if you could hit those like and subscribe buttons down below to keep me from falling into the depths of oblivion, it's greatly appreciated. Now, let's jump in to Daggerfall. Graphics and all things visual. So I wanted to start off with graphics. As you can already see, everything is much more upscaled compared to vanilla Daggerfall. All NPCs, enemies, buildings, and pretty much every texture has been updated. You have high quality skies with birds, 3D trees that move in the wind, as well as grass and ground cover. Animals are also 3D now, so no more flat cows and cats, and eventually we will see 3D NPCs and enemies, but that's for a future update. Cities are overhauled as well, giving different towns a more unique, handcrafted feel. Weapons have also been updated, so they have a unique, high-quality look as you hold them. Your user interface has been upgraded as well, with new inventory sprites and a more rustic fantasy feel, with included skill progress charts so you can track your progress on your next skill advancement. This also includes dynamic character backgrounds, showcasing your current location and season. You also get a new world map as well, with roads and regional climates included. And a hotkey bar for your favorite spells and items, a visual and useful upgrade. I've also included immersive loading screens, showcasing game tips and your current progress on leveling up. Daggerfall dungeons, combat, and blood. Don't forget your torches or a trusty candlelight spell, because things are about to get dark and there are hordes of enemies around every corner. But fear not, as gone are the days that you flail around with your trusty sword to become frustrated that you cannot land a blow on your enemies. Now your weapon skill will determine how hard you hit your enemies, not if you hit them. So no matter how bad your combat roll, you will always hit for at least 1 damage. But your enemies will gain the same advantage as well. So kiting is a far more effective tactic than ever before, and shooting a bow, far more satisfying. And if you feel that your bow isn't packing enough of a punch, crossbows are now available, and even though they aren't fully upscaled to HD, I feel that they're too cool to be left out of this package, but remember, they do take a little longer to reload. But regardless of what weapon you choose, I still recommend using a weapon that you have some skill with. And if you still enjoy the classic dice roll mechanics, you're welcome to toggle the mod off in the mod menu. And dungeons are filled with far more enemies than ever before. Hordes of rats and bats lurk around every corner to tear you apart. Or maybe a gang of undead skeletons with their bones creaking, with their only purpose to kill you. And blood will be spilled, and bones shattered, covering the floor after a tough fight. And be wary, as skeletons, ghosts, and zombies sound more fearsome than ever before. Treasure. And keep your eyes open for hidden chests while on your next quest, as locked loot containers can spawn anywhere, giving you the opportunity to acquire some rare loot. Although, without the right skills to get these chests open, you may have to resort to bashing them open, potentially destroying the loot inside. or even leaving said loot behind, as some chests seem near indestructible. But with the right lockpicking skill, or maybe a spell of opening, you might acquire some rare items, as loot is now completely unleveled. This gives you the opportunity to even find some Daedric gauntlets early on, if you're lucky enough. Persistent dungeons. Now, if you find a dungeon too difficult, fear not, as dungeons are now persistent, meaning you won't lose your progress if you're forced to leave without completing it. Just don't take too long to return, or it will reset over time, although you can change this setting in the mod options. Dirty tricks. Blind. While exploring dungeons, among other things, you now have a series of new tricks and abilities at your disposal, mostly useful for players who like to play the thief, archer, rogue, or assassin, but can truly be helpful to any class. Sometimes in a tough fight, you need to play a little dirty. Now you can throw dirt in the eyes of your enemies to temporarily blind them. If you have your weapons out and click an enemy while in steal mode, you will attempt to throw dirt in their eyes, which will cause blindness, so opponents can only see directly in front of them and must rely on hearing. This allows you to sneak behind for a potential backstab. This effect recharges over time based on your luck skill, and be aware that some enemies such as rogues and archers can use this against you as well, and some enemies such as the undead are immune to such effects. Dirty tricks, distraction. So if you like to be particularly sneaky, you can create diversions to enemies that haven't been alerted to your presence. While in steal mode, click a distant floor or wall to throw a pebble and enemies will be attracted to the sound and investigate, giving you a chance to sneak by or even hit them in the back with a surprise attack. Dirty tricks. Give them the boot. If you're feeling particularly daring and your enemy is close to a ledge, why not give them a little help with your boot? If you click on an opponent while in grab mode, you will attempt to hit them with a mighty kick, and for a moment you can feel like Leonidas from the movie 300. Success is determined by your strength, as well as how heavy your enemy is, and your momentum coming into said kick. Players with a high critical strike skill will find more success than others. Dirty tricks, peeking through doors and chocking them. Now, have you ever felt unsure about opening that next door in a dungeon? Fear not, as now you can take a quick sneak peek before making that decision. While in info mode, get close to a door and you can peep through a small hole, and if crouching, you can peep under the door before making that decision. And if you feel like you bit off a little more than you can chew, you can seal enemies inside of a room with a door chock. You can use this on an unlocked, closed door that would normally open towards you by clicking on it in steal mode. This is based on your lockpicking skill, forcing enemies to break down the door before they can get to you. Who needs levitation? The Grappling Hook. Now this brings us to one of my favorite little tricks, especially useful for those who cannot levitate or have any potions of levitation. To use a grappling hook, simply click the corner of a ledge in grab mode while having a grappling hook equipped, and it will deploy and hook onto said ledge, giving you a portable wall you can climb. Now you don't have to be a mage to reach those tricky or hard to get to areas. These are available to purchase in general stores and do degrade over time. Field Alchemy Kit and Herbalism. Ever wish you could mix your own potions on the fly without having to go all the way back to town? I now have two solutions for you. The first being the Field Alchemy Kit, which allows you a portable solution to potion making. It can be purchased from alchemy shops. This works just like regular potion making, but is portable, making it far more convenient than searching for a potion maker in town. My second solution is Herbalism, a new feature based on your medical skill to create herbal remedies, poisons, as well as poison neutralizations and recovery effects. Similar to the restoration tree of magic, but a little slower and weaker than spells, and all that is required is a mortar and pestle, as well as some ingredients which can all be purchased at alchemy shops. Also, if you start the game with a high enough medical skill, a mortar and pestle will be in your inventory, as well as a few ingredients. While in grab mode, if you crouch and click on the ground nearby, you can begin to make herbal remedies, most which require only 2 ingredients, and there are usually 2 different remedies for the same condition. If you were inflicted by a poison, the remedy you will need to use will be highlighted. These remedies will reduce the poison time, increasing the chance for survival, and if your medical skill is high enough, they can completely neutralize a poison and recover stat damage. But be aware, most herbal remedies have side effects, which usually include drowsiness and in a few cases, health or magic damage. Making poisons. Herbalism also gives you the ability to create 3 different types of poison: Moonseed, Magebane, and Ferric Acid. When these poisons are created, the character will enter an envenomed state. While in this state, short blades and missile weapons will be continuously coated with poison every round. Medical skill does not impact poison damage, but does increase the duration of the envenomed state. This effect ends prematurely if the player applies another herbal remedy. You can check your enemy's poison status by using the Enhanced Info feature, which is used by clicking an enemy while in the info mode. Poisons are particularly useful in long battles when fighting multiple opponents. And remember, normal enemy immunities apply. Creating traps. Mixing potions together not your jam? Maybe creating traps is more your style. Governed by your lockpicking skill, you can create crippling traps using available components. Simply crouch and click the ground while in steal mode to create snares that would hold enemies in place. Venomous traps that'll do poison damage over time. Paralyzing traps, or even traps that burn your enemies. You're also able to create Lunasticks, which are temporary, non-flammable torches that work underwater. There are multiple versions of each kind of trap, except the Flaming Wrath trap. Be aware, traps are not guaranteed to trigger, so the higher the quality of the trap, the more likely it'll trigger reliably. Also, small creatures and weightless entities cannot trigger traps, and you can also trigger your own traps, although there is a very low chance of doing so. Also, trap making is a great way to train your lockpicking skill. Landmark Journal. Tired of running through giant cities only to find you need to backtrack to the inn near the entrance? Worried about running over villagers with your horse while rushing across town? Well, fear not. This is where the Landmark Journal comes into play. It's like Mark and Recall, but for people without magical talent. You can purchase this item from general stores for a moderate price. It allows for fast traveling short distances within cities, towns, and dungeons. Simply mark an area, give it a name, and have it saved in your book for later, for a quick trip to where you've been. Although fast for the player, time will pass and it will cost fatigue to use, so it's not teleportation. Be aware, when in dungeons, it can't be used when there's enemies nearby, and magical portals can interfere with navigation. There's also a slight chance for contracting diseases if you're above level 4, and this is determined by your luck skill. Also, while fast traveling in town, there's a possibility of encountering thugs and cut purses, especially if there's a crime wave ongoing in the region. Putting blacksmiths and tailors to work. Feel like the selection at your local blacksmith is rather lacking? Looking for a particular pair of pants for your event at the palace? Well, now we can put those tailors and blacksmiths to work for us. For a price, you can request specific items from clothing shops and blacksmiths. Requesting a specific piece of equipment will of course cost more than usual and take a couple days to create, but now you won't have to search through countless shops to find that specific piece of armor you're looking for. What about Conjuration? So if you don't know already, there's no Conjuration tree in Daggerfall for magic. The closest we get is Mysticism, which has a few useful spells such as summoning items, locking and unlocking doors and chests, and teleportation, among other things. But now we have a few more spells that may remind you of the Conjuration tree. This includes summoning imps, the most basic of followers to follow and fight by your side. You can tell it to follow and wait, and push him around by activating it in the grab mode. You can have multiple followers, but this is determined by willpower. And if you're more daring, you can try to summon an Atronach, requiring certain ingredients to cast the spell. He would become a permanent creation, but will not leave dungeons or areas when you exit or fast travel. A high willpower attribute is necessary in order to control an Atronach, so be careful, as an uncontrolled Atronach is capable of anything. These creatures are capable of picking up and wearing amulets as well. So, you want to be a necromancer. So necromancy is typically frowned upon, especially by the temples of the 8 divines, and users of this spell will have a significant negative impact to their reputation with these factions, although there are a few darker factions that you will gain reputation with. So use the reanimation spell at your own discretion. All you need to cast this spell is a holy dagger and a filled soul gem. This spell can be cast on human corpses as well as skeletons, mummies, zombies, and liches. Cast the spell on your chosen corpse and select what soul you wish to use for your spell. The stronger the soul, the stronger the creation. The stronger the creation, the harder it is to control, so a high willpower is recommended. A few more new spells. 4 more unique spells have been added to the game as well. Blind. A spell that works like the dirty trick earlier on in this video, just in magical form. Part of the illusion tree of magic, good for getting away from enemies to sneak up for a backstab. Scour. An alteration spell useful for necromancers who want to strip the flesh off human corpses to summon skeletal minions. Windwalk. An improved form of levitation. It's faster and far more efficient than the original levitation spell. Basically, a flying spell. And lastly, there's Illusory Decoy, used to create an illusory creature to distract foes. Having a high personality and willpower makes for more attractive illusions. New guilds. 3 new guilds have been added to the game, adding more unique ways to roleplay characters than ever before. The Archaeologist Guild. Is your character of high intelligence and seeking the lore of Tamriel, but isn't interested in mages and their ridiculous spells? Then the Archaeologist Guild might be for you. The Archaeologist Guild, which are rivals to the Mages Guild, with their mission to delve into the history of Tamriel. They wish to learn about all creatures and races who live or have lived in the world of Tamriel. They're a scholarly guild that seeks above all knowledge. Great for players who wish to go for more of a diplomat build, and it gives more purpose to the language skills. It also gives access to new potions such as teleportation, mark, and recall, and they even offer training in hand-to-hand combat. The Bards Guild. Do you have a passion for the musical arts? Do you love performing in front of large groups and finding lost musical ballads? Then the Bards Guild is for you. Earn money by playing at local taverns, palaces, and even strongholds. And even if you're not the best musician, you can still help by retrieving lost ballads and even find some bards that have gone missing. A great way to earn coin if you have a high personality skill and love the idea of playing a traveling bard. The Red Lantern Guild. Now comes the darkest of the 3 new guilds. A guild based off of cut content from the original Daggerfall game. A guild that specializes in blackmail and espionage under the guise of being a house of pleasures. The Red Lantern Guild is known as a guild of prostitutes, servicing clients all across the Iliac Bay. But that really is a front, for a more secretive underworld organization with ties to both the Thieves Guild and the Blades. Their guild halls look like taverns, but do not operate like them. A high personality is key to success in this guild. And with multiple endings and choices to these quests, do you have what it takes to make the legendary lifts her tail proud? Quests and encounters. Now when you're traveling into towns and cities and across the lands of the Iliac Bay, random events can occur. You may enter a city where a barbarian is causing trouble in a local tavern, and you can choose to help out or let the guards take care of it. This gives you opportunities for reputation boosts and rewards at any time without having to set foot in a dungeon. Multiple new quests have also been added to temples and temple orders, giving more flavor than ever before. You also have a chance to run into bandits, wild animals, or even the occasional group of adventurers, giving you a reason to travel the roads of the Iliac Bay. Bandit Raids. Traveling to farmsteads, you now have the potential for a new type of encounter. If you consider yourself a criminal under the eyes of the law, you may run into raiding parties when visiting farms who are looking for recruits for a criminal assault on a plantation. You can also decide to defend the location from the raiders as well. Whether you choose to be the hero or the villain, a large battle will commence, with victory earning you a large sum of gold and either the thanks or hatred of the locals in that region. Kleptomania. Always wanted to be able to steal every cup from a tavern, only to realize that Daggerfall doesn't have that mechanic? Well, not anymore. Feel free to look at and steal every item you see laying around on tables, counters, and bookshelves, just like in the newer Elder Scrolls games. Fill your cart with all the loot you can carry and ride out of town. Just watch out for an army of guards chasing behind yelling "halt" if you're not too discreet. Death Sentence. The days of banishment being used as a get-out-of-jail-free card are over. Now with death sentences restored, you'll think twice before committing crimes in the Iliac Bay. Petty theft and the occasional murder shouldn't be too much of a problem if you don't mind spending years in prison, but keep it up and the executioner's axe will be at your throat, and Alduin isn't going to be there to stop it this time. Interior decoration in Daggerfall. So you finally collected enough gold to purchase your own home or ship, but you feel like your new purchase is missing that personal touch. Well, fear not. The decorator feature allows you to customize your new purchase like never before. When in your home or ship, press the hotkey set in the mod settings. By default, this is the / key. Select the category in the panel on the left to bring up a list of available objects. Look where you want to place the object and start placing bookshelves, bottles, and lights wherever you like. You can decide if you want your furniture to be able to contain items, be a light source, and many more options. Just be aware that you can't edit the items already in the home upon purchase, only new items added through the decorator mod. So save before deciding on a final home or ship for layout purposes, because most homes and ships are very expensive. Books, health bars, better vampires, start saver, and a third-person camera. A few new books with purpose have been added to Daggerfall. A new book called An Adventurer's Guide to Witch Covens has been added, which gives details on each coven and where to find them in the wilderness. Skill books has been added as well, and depending on your intelligence, you can read numerous tomes to increase your skills, and all it costs is a little time. I've also added NPC health bars that can be tweaked in the mod settings depending on the colors you desire and how you want the information provided. Better vampire options where you can tweak in the mod settings how bloodlust works and the ability to loiter in towns when you're suffering from vampiric bloodlust. There's a start saver in this package as well, so you never have to worry about dying in your first dungeon without making that crucial first save and start back at character creation. A third-person camera is included as well. By pressing O on your keyboard, you can view your character in third person, Great for screenshots or if you just like to see your character hanging around the locals in your favorite tavern. More options for traveling. Want to travel the roads of the Iliac Bay without actually having to take a month to get to the next city? That's where travel options comes in, for those who wish to travel the roads of Daggerfall without using fast travel. Useful for finding dungeons and locations not marked on your map, but you have a general idea of where something is. You can accelerate travel to cover the vast distances of the Iliac Bay much faster than ever before, or maybe you just prefer not using the fast travel system. You can also use it to follow the roads around cities if what you're looking for is on the far side of town. Just press the F key to follow a road in the direction you are facing, and you will easily begin circumnavigating the city. This does not work inside towns though, only on major roads or dirt paths. Lockpicking Mini-game. Lockpicking in Daggerfall has always been a pretty underwhelming experience, running from lock to lock hoping one clicks open. But now there is a lockpicking mini-game, giving players a chance to get a difficult lock open if you fail on your first attempt. Press the matching key on your keyboard as the tumblers fall to pick the lock. The higher your lockpicking skill, the easier the game will become. Be aware that your reflex setting you select at character creation will affect the speed of the minigame. So I hope you like all the features in my DaRKerfall mod collection. I want to give a big thanks to Inner Karma and the modding community for making this possible. If you have any questions about the collection, please let me know in the comments. This collection is available on Nexus Mods, and I'll leave a link down below. If you like my videos, enjoy my mod collections, and want to keep track of future updates, please hit that subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And for those who choose to install my mod collection, I have some important tips in the last chapter of this video to get the full DaRKerfall experience. Install tips and an upcoming full install guide. I'm currently working on an install guide for my mod collection. If you're unfamiliar with using collections on the Nexus, I do highly recommend a premium Nexus account for downloading my package. And I don't say this because it benefits me in any way, but because I will have set up my package to be streamlined with their mod manager. It will download and install all mods to their correct directories. It will save you a huge amount of time because downloading over 100 mods manually is extremely time consuming. I also included a file to automatically set up your load order. Look for the load order instructions text in your streaming assets directory, as well as the mods.json, and follow the instructions in the text file. And for your mod presets, use the Dream presets in the game mod manager unless you see DaRKerfall 2024 presets, then use them instead. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I look forward to seeing everyone in the next video.